Good evening and welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. Here we are on day 349, and I wanted to finish the story of King Sivi. Now you might remember from the story yesterday that King Sivi had saved a dove from being eaten by a hawk. And the dove had requested King Sivi's protection, which he gave it. And then the hawk came, and the hawk demanded that King Sivi give him the dove, or the equivalent of the dove. And King Sivi did not know what to do. Now, of course, the dove and the hawk were both the same being, king of the gods, Shakra. Now, King Sivi couldn't kill another animal in order to feed the hawk. That would be senseless, to kill one animal to save another. And so he thought what to do. Maybe you have thought what he should do as well and have some idea. The hawk waited patiently, but it didn't take long before King Sivi said, "I have a solution." And the hawk asked, "So what is that solution?" And King Sivi said, "This is what I shall do. I shall cut from my own body a piece of flesh that is equivalent to the weight of the dove." The hawk said, "Fine, that will work." And so King Sivi had brought out into the court a scale, a golden scale, of course. And on each side there was a tray. And the dove was placed in the tray on one side. And of course, then the scale tipped in that direction. The dove didn't weigh much, thought King Sivi. That can't be a whole lot of flesh from my own body to match the weight of this dove. Now, everybody in his court, all his counselors, all of the women that were in the court, everybody, they were dismayed. How could the king be doing such a thing? This made no sense. They tried to persuade him not to cut into his body. But he was determined. He was going to give of himself to solve this situation, this problem that he had in part created. The dove, sitting there in the scale, cooing quietly, at peace, saved. The hawk expectantly waiting. King Sivi had brought to him a special knife, jeweled and very sharp. He thought only for a moment of where would be the best place to take a piece of his own flesh, and he thought, no better place than my thigh. It's a big muscle. Certainly I can spare a little bit there. So he dug the knife in and cut off a piece of flesh, and yes, there was blood. And he took the piece of flesh, which certainly looked like it would have been the equivalent of the dove's weight. He placed it in the tray, and it did not move. The dove was still heavier. He cut another piece, added it to the tray, but it didn't make any difference at all. And then he cut another and another and another. But no matter how much he cut, from his arms, from his legs, from his thighs, from his buttocks, it did not move that scale at all. And finally, he placed his entire body on the one side of the scale opposite the dove. And as you're already guessing, I'm sure, the scale did not move. At this point, dove and hawk, as one voice, cried out, "Enough!" And suddenly, in a blink of an eye, dove and hawk were gone. Floating, it seemed, some bit off the ground, stood King Shakra. And next to King Shakra, standing, was King Sivi, whole and unharmed. "I praise you, O king," said Shakra. "Today you have shown a strength to give that I have never seen before. You were completely determined. I have never seen anything like it. You gave of yourself completely. You've done well. You've been tested like none before you, really. All will go well with you for the rest of your life. You asked to be shown how to give, and here you've received the answer." King Sivi put his palms together and looked directly at Shakra, king of the gods. As soon as Shakra was finished speaking, in a blink of an eye, he was gone, as was his way. He would come and then he would go. King Sivi stood there, and everybody in the court was absolutely amazed and felt honored that they were in the presence of such a being as King Sivi, who had even impressed the king of the gods. Now, after many years of life, of course, King Sivi passed. And when he did, he was taken into a paradise in heaven. He enjoyed the greatest of joys. But that did not content him. And while there, he could see into the world of, well, the world he had left. He could see the people suffering. But not only the people, the animals, the beasts of burden, suffering in a way that there was really no relief. And he wished that he could help, that he could bring some relief to all this suffering. And though the pleasures and joy of heaven were great, he knew that there was no greater joy that he could have than living on this earth and seeking with all of himself to do good. And that is the story of King Sivi. I hope it goes deeply into your heart. I've always, well, not always, I've gotten to the point where I know that it is in giving that we are the happiest. When we are in service to others, it brings us the greatest joy. The greed that we see in this world does nothing to fulfill us. We can be greedy for all kinds of things, experiences, people. But once we have any of them, it doesn't take long before we're looking for something else to fulfill us. We don't have to look far to know that it is in giving. It's in giving that we feel the greatest joy. What a story. Okay. Thanks for joining. Come back tomorrow for My Life as a Steward on our 50th week. Okay.